Everyone, welcome to UPSC Prep with Saikat. My goal here is simple, to help you understand every UPSC topic in a clear, logical and easy to understand manner. So without wasting any further time, let's begin. So if you want to prepare for UPSC Civil Service exam but don't know where to begin, this series is for you. Now I have specially designed it as a beginner's guide where we will understand the entire examination from scratch in a simple language. Now many aspirants, after listening to college seniors or watching topper talks or getting inspired by success stories on YouTube, become highly motivated and immediately start studying history, polity, geography, economy, environment and more importantly, current affairs. Some might have begun collecting books, some join coaching institutes, others start following multiple YouTube channels. But they directly jump into preparation without understanding the examination itself. Now let me ask you a simple question. Can a person successfully prepare for an examination without properly understanding its structure, syllabus, stages, competition level and demands? Probably not. So before starting any journey, we must first understand where we are going, what route we need to follow and what challenges we might face in our journey. This is exactly why we are starting this series. Now think of it as your foundation course for understanding UPSC. So first and foremost, what is UPSC? Now UPSC stands for what? Now UPSC stands for Union Public Service Commission. Think of it as the recruitment agency of the government of India. Now, just like a company recruits employees through interviews and tests, the government of India recruits its top officers through UPSC. And the examination conducted for this purpose is known as the Civil Services Examination. So, this is the difference between UPSC and Civil Service Examination. So, UPSC is the conducting body who conducts the examination and Civil Service Examination is the name of the examination through which government recruits its top officers. Now you might be wondering, why are civil servants so important? Now let's take a simple example. Suppose the government launches a welfare scheme for the farmers, a new welfare scheme for the farmers. Now who will ensure that the scheme reaches the farmers? Who will monitor the implementation? Who will solve problems on the ground? Those are civil servants. So, what are the most important role of the civil servants? Now, maintaining law and order, then disaster management, drafting public policies, implementing welfare schemes, tax administration, policy implementation, public welfare. So, all these are the responsibilities which are being handled by the civil servants. That is why these services are considered as the backbone of the country, or rather backbone of the administration. So I hope now you understood what is UPSC and why civil servants are so much important. Now the next big important thing is that what is the Civil Service Examination? So what is Civil Service Examination? So everyone is aware of that. Everyone says that they are preparing for UPSC, they are preparing for UPSC. But is it true that they are actually preparing for UPSC? Let us understand. So that is not exactly true. Why so? See, UPSC conducts multiple exams throughout the year. Say for example, CAPF, it conducts CDS and similarly, one of them is a Civil Service Examination. So what exactly is UPSC CSE? Now in simple words, it is a nationwide competitive examination conducted annually by the UPSC. For what? Now to recruit officers or candidates for various prestigious services like IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS and many others. But this examination is not merely a test of how much you can memorize. So what exactly UPSC is looking for through this particular exam? Now UPSC is not looking for students who can simply reproduce facts in the examination hall. It is looking for future administrators, policymakers, diplomats, police officers and leaders who will be responsible for handling complex challenges faced by the country. So through this particular examination, what UPSC is exactly doing? Now, UPSC tries to identify individuals who possess not only knowledge but also possess analytical skills, decision making skills, emotional maturity, ethical values, leadership qualities, and a balanced approach towards the problems. So, this is what exactly UPSC is looking for. So, now if we look at the nature of examination, what exactly is the nature of the examination? Now, it is a long and multi-layered process. So it is basically a multi-layered evaluation process that spans almost an entire year. Now, from where to where? The journey starts with an objective examination, which is called as the prelims. Then it moves to a descriptive analysis or descriptive examination called as mains. And finally, it concludes with a personality test or interview. Now, a question that almost every beginner asks is that why UPSC is considered one of the toughest examinations in India. So there are multiple reasons behind it. First reason is the syllabus is extremely vast. We need to cover history, geography, polity, economy, environment, science and technology, and moreover, we need to be up to date with the current affairs, with the things that is going around India as well as around the world. So this is first reason why we considered UPSC as one of the toughest exams in India. Second and most important reason is the unpredictability nature. Now UPSC asks unpredictable and analytical questions. So simply mugging up information is usually not enough for this. Third reason is that the level of competition is enormous. Now every year lakhs of candidates apply, but only a small fraction finally make it to the merit list. So that is what that UPSC is not just a test of knowledge. It is also a test of patience, consistency, discipline, and perseverance. So I hope that now you have understood the difference that what is UPSC, why we are studying means why UPSC is considered as one of the toughest examination, why UPSC Civil Service Examination rather is considered as one of the toughest examination, and then why what is the nature of the examination. So as we discussed the nature of the examination, that it's a multi-layered process. So first layer is called as the prelims. Prelims is nothing but the objective test. Next layer is the mains. We are having our mains examination, and finally we will be having our personality or one-to-one interview. So and finally it will be the final service allocation. So this is the entire process by which the candidates are being selected for the exam. So next comes the most important part, that what are the services that gets recruited through UPSC. So when most students hear UPSC, they think only about IAS. But UPSC recruits for many services. Like UPSC recruits for All India Services, which includes IAS, IPS, and IFOS, which is Indian Forest Service. It's not Indian Foreign Service, but it is Indian Forest Service, which is considered as an All India Service. So what do you mean by this All India Service? Now, All India Service means that the officers who are recruited for these services can be deployed to serve both the central government as well as the individual state governments as well. So this is the meaning of All India Services. Now next comes the central services. Now this is the other category for which the officers are being selected. So for the central services, which are the posts that includes within central services? We are having IFS, that is Indian Foreign Service. We are having IRS, that is Indian Revenue Service. We are having IAAS, which is Indian Audit and Account Service. But what exactly this central services group means? It means that officers who are posted for this particular services are exclusively under the central government. Now previously for All India Services, it can be under the central government or it can be under the state government as well. But for the central services, it is exclusively under the central government. So apart from these two services, we have other services as well, for which UPSC CSE recruits officers. So what are those? Now there are multiple Group A services such as the Indian Postal Service, or Group B services like DA-NICS or DA-NIPS, which administers the union territories. So think of UPSC as a large gateway. So after crossing it, different roads lead to different services. And most importantly, your rank determines which road you get. So what are the services that you through which civil means based on civil service examinations, what are the services you can be eligible for? Now there are two types of services, All India Service and the Central Services, which is the Group A. Now under All India Service, what are the posts that comes? Now IAS, IPS and Indian Forest Service. And Central Services, IFS, IRS and IAAS. So these are the different types of services which we can get. Now the most important thing that comes is that who are eligible for this particular exam. So what are the eligibility conditions? So you must be thinking that whether you are eligible to appear for UPSC or not. Now the good news is that the eligibility conditions are quite simple. First of all, for nationality, if your goal is IAS or IPS, you must be an Indian citizen. If your goal is IAS or IPS, that's it. For educational qualification, candidates must possess a bachelor's degree. That's it. From a recognized university. The stream does not matter. You can be qualified as you can continue or you can do your bachelor's degree in humanities, in science or commerce. It does not matter. So the stream does not matter, be it arts, science, commerce, engineering, medical or any other discipline. So UPSC does not discriminate based on your academic background. Here comes a most important thing. So now you might be thinking that if suppose you are in the final year of your college, of your graduation, whether you are eligible to apply for or whether you are eligible for the exam or not. Yes, the final year students can also apply, but there is a condition. Provided they submit proof of passing before the mains exam. That's it. So what is the age criteria for this? So what are the age criteria? Now the minimum age is 21 years and the maximum age is 32 years for the unreserved category, with relaxations available for the relaxed categories, for the reserved categories. So next comes the number of attempts. So what are the number of attempts that you can give? How many attempts you can give? Now for unreserved category and EWS category, candidates get 6 attempts. So for the unreserved category and the EWS category, the candidates get how many attempts? Now 6 attempts. OBC candidates gets 9 attempts or up to 35 years of age. Similarly, for general or EWS category, it can be either 6 attempts or up to 32 years of age. Similarly, for SC/ST candidates, the attempts are unlimited until the upper age limit of 37 years. Next is for the physically disabled persons. Now 9 attempts are for general, OBC or EWS and unlimited for SC/ST but up to 42 years of age. So these are the few of the attempts. But there is one important point over here. What is that important point? Now recently, this is important. So what exactly happened recently? Now recently UPSC notifications have tightened the reattempt provisions. Now what do you mean by this reattempt provisions? So previously what used to happen is, suppose for example a candidate has secured rank 100 and he is getting the IPS post, but he is not satisfied, but that person is not satisfied with that post, or for example that person is getting some cadre which is the person is not getting his home cadre, or the person is not getting his getting the post which he has dreamt of or which he wants to get. So in that case, they used to reappear for the exam and they used to improve their rank. Now you imagine, suppose for example, a candidate who has got rank 100 for 2025, say for example, that candidate is again reappearing for exam 2026 cycle, and say for example, that person got rank 10, so that he will get his desired post or he will get his desired cadre. Now the question arises that that person in 2025 has got rank 100. That means the person is occupying a seat which may be occupied by some other person who by whisker missed the list. Similar case that in 2026 when the person has got rank 10, in that scenario also the person might be occupying another deserving person's seat. In order to stop this reattempt provisions, what UPSC has done in the recent notification is that it restricted the candidates who are already allocated to the services from repeatedly appearing in the civil service examination without resigning or specific exemptions. That's it. So in this way, the reattempt, which is one of the issues in the exam, has been stopped. UPSC is trying to stop this particular issue, or trying to resolve this particular issue. So this was all about the eligibility factor. But one catch is, you might be thinking that merely filling the application form will cost one attempt of yours. It is not. Merely filling the application form does not count as an attempt. An attempt is only counted if you actually appear in the examination hall for the preliminary examination. Now, when you went inside the hall, we need to sign. We need to give our signature. As soon as you gave your signature, that means you have appeared for that year's exam. Until and unless you gave your signature during the prelims examination, your attempt will not be counted. So don't focus too much on the number of attempts. Focus on building a strong foundation and preparing seriously. So I hope you understood about the eligibility factor as well. Now the most important part, the stages of the exam. So how many stages the exam is being conducted? So UPSC is not one exam. It is actually 3 examinations. Stage 1 is called as the preliminary exam or prelims. Now stage 2 is called as the mains exam, and finally stage 3 is called as the personality test. So rather we can say that instead of saying it as a one exam, we can say that it is actually 3 examinations. So we can think of it like a 3-level video game. You cannot reach level 3 without clearing level 1 and level 2. Understood? Now let's see how the prelims exam is getting conducted every year. So what is the nature of this particular exam or the prelims exam? So prelims exam is an offline, objective type and multiple choice question exam. It has 2 papers, GS paper 1 and GS paper 2, which is commonly called as the CSAT paper. So what is the purpose of this GS paper 1? Now GS paper 1, based on the marks that you get in the GS paper 1. So GS paper 1 decides whether you qualify for mains or not. Next is the CSAT paper. Now CSAT paper is nothing but a qualifying paper. So you need at least 33% of marks. So in this paper, you need at least 33% of marks to pass. So a common mistake among aspirants is ignoring CSAT, thinking that it's a qualifying paper only. Now many students score well in GS but fail in CSAT and get eliminated. So never underestimate it. Now there is one more important aspect every aspirant should remember, or should rather note it down from day 1 itself. What it is? Negative marking. What is this negative marking all about? For every wrong answer, that is for every incorrect answer, 1/3 of the marks assigned to that question are deducted. Say for example, in GS paper 1, each question carries 2 marks. So if there is any wrong answer, okay, so if there is any wrong answer, in that case, every incorrect answer costs approximately 0.66 marks. So every incorrect answer in your GS paper 1 will cost you approximately 0.66 marks. Similarly, in CSAT paper, each question carries 2.5 marks. So every incorrect answer costs approximately 0.83 marks. So marks assigned, how much marks was assigned for GS paper 1? 2 marks. That is why every incorrect answer was 0.33 marks got deducted. So that means overall 0.66 marks got deducted. And similarly in CSAT paper also 0.83 marks got deducted. Now let's understand with a simple example. Say for example, suppose you attempt 10 questions in GS paper 1. Out of these 10 questions, 7 questions were correct and 3 questions were incorrect. So for these 7 questions, each is having 2 marks, each carrying 2 marks. So how much marks will you get? Now 14 marks. How many questions you got incorrect? 3 marks. That is 3 questions. That means 3 into 0.66. That means approximately it is coming to 2. So what will be your overall marks? So even though you got 14 marks for the correct answers, But after negative marking, your final score comes down to 12 marks. So this is why random guessing can be dangerous. A smart aspirant does not simply attempt more questions. A smart aspirant attempts with intelligent elimination and calculated risk. So, and remember, both papers matter. Say, for example, in GS paper 1, if you score 110, but in GS paper 2, that is the CSAT paper, you scored only 60, you will fail because you did not got the minimum qualifying marks in CSAT. So, it's a humble request to all of you that when you start your preparation for prelims, focus on both the papers equally. Okay? So, this was all about the prelims exam. So, if prelims is about selection, that is the gateway to mains, what is this mains examination? Now, mains examination is all about proving yourself. Now, here UPSC checks whether you can think, analyze, and express your thoughts. So, what are the papers that we are having in mains? So, we are having multiple papers. So, over here also we are having 2 qualifying papers. So, what are those 2 qualifying papers? Now, Indian language paper and English paper. So, what is this Indian language? Now, we have 22 language mentioned in the Indian Constitution. So, you can select any one Indian language paper which are mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. And next, one paper testing the basic English proficiency. So, both these papers carries 300 marks each. But as I mentioned that these are qualifying papers, so their marks will not be counted for merit. But the important thing is that if you cannot score more than the qualifying marks, your merit papers, that is the GS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 optional papers will not be evaluated. So that is why the qualifying papers are of utmost importance. So these were the qualifying papers. So what are the main papers that we have? So the merit papers. So we are having total 7 papers. So what are those? First is the essay paper. Next is GS1, next is GS2, GS3, GS4, and then we are having optional papers, 2 optional papers. So this stage determines your rank to a very large extent, because ultimately your rank will depend on how you perform in your mains exam. That's it. Now, in today's session, we are not going in detail of all these papers. We will, as I mentioned, that it's a series of the foundation. So we will go across all these papers in detail in the upcoming sessions. So as I mentioned that this mains examination determines your rank to a very large extent. So let's take an example. So in prelims, UPSC may ask that when was the Battle of Plassey fought? But nowadays UPSC is not asking this simple type of questions. If you have given 2026 attempt, you might have understood that. But just for the example, just for our understanding per se, we can say that, say for example, UPSC has asked that when was the Battle of Plassey fought? In mains, UPSC will ask the same question in a manner that discuss the significance of the Battle of Plassey in the establishment of British rule in India. Now see the difference. One, your prelims stage tests your memory, but the other, that is the mains stage, tests your understanding. Again, I'll repeat the same thing. In prelims, the question was asked that when was the Battle of Plassey fought? Simple. In mains, from the topic Battle of Plassey, how they have asked the question? Now discuss the significance of the Battle of Plassey in the establishment of British rule in India. Now see the difference. One tests your memory and the other tests your understanding. So now the final stage, which is called as the personality test, or rather in common language it is called as the interview. Now many students think that UPSC checks knowledge here, but it's not really the case. Your knowledge has already been tested because you have cleared prelims, you have cleared mains, and then you came to the interview stage. That means you are aware of the things, that your knowledge part has already been tested. Then what exactly UPSC is testing as part of the personality test? The interview mainly evaluates our judgment, our intellectual curiosity, whether we are having a balanced judgment or not, the integrity, the leadership capability, the communication, emotional maturity, the decision making ability, and more importantly, the administrative temperament. So UPSC checks all this, checks a person or checks a candidate in all these parameters, that whether the person is intellectual enough or not. That is, the person is eager to learn and understand the global and local issues or not. The balance of judgment, whether the person in a particular complex issue, whether he can portray both sides of the issue. That is, the person needs to have a balanced judgment. Third is the integrity part. Integrity part is that whether the person is having integrity or not. That's it. The leadership, administrative temperament, and emotional maturity. So this was all about the personality test, based on which UPSC wants to know that if this person becomes a district magistrate tomorrow, can the person handle the responsibility? That is the only reason for this personality test. That's it. So I hope you understood the different stages of the exam. First of all, we are having the prelim stage just to eliminate the candidates, and it's a gateway to mains. Next comes the mains stage, which ultimately tests your understanding. And finally is the personality test, which tests your personality towards a particular situation. Now you might be thinking that, okay, I have told you all the things, that what are the stages, everything. But what is the score distribution, or what are the marks distribution? So let's understand the final score. So as I mentioned, that prelims is nothing but a qualifying, that's a screening test to eliminate the candidates, and whosoever has qualified prelims can move on to the next stage, that is the mains stage. So our final score depends on two things. Final score depends on two things. First is how much you got in your mains exam plus your personality test. So it depends on these two things. That's it. So what are the marks that we are having over here? What is the marks distribution for this? Now optional, we are having 500 marks each. That means total 500 marks. That is, each paper is carrying 250 marks each. All the 4 GS papers carries 1000 marks total. In total, that is, we are having 4 papers, GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, each carrying 250 marks. And we are having essay paper of 250 marks and interview, that is the personality test, of 275 marks. So that means our total merit score is 2025. That means the final marks that we get is dependent on the mains score plus the personality test score, and we are getting the marks out of 2025. So I hope you noticed that prelims marks are not included over here, as prelims only helps us enter the competition. It acts just as the screening test to eliminate the aspirants and move forward, and helps to move forward the real aspirants. So the real battle begins in mains. So these are all the details. Now we have understood about that what are prelims, what are mains, what is the personality tests and all. But the most important thing is that have you ever seen that lakhs and lakhs of students appear for the exam, but only thousands get selected? So that means what? That means the competition is very tough over here. Let's understand with the help of an example. Say for example that around in a particular year, around 10 to 13 lakh aspirants have applied for. Now in the preliminary exam, out of those 10 to 13 lakh people who have filled out the form, only 5 to 6 lakh actually appear. Now you see 50% of the aspirants have gone. That means 50% competition already reduced before prelims itself. So now you gave the prelims exam, which acts as the screening test. So ultimately, only 10 to 15k students will go for the mains exam. You see, can you imagine? Initially, 10 to 13 lakh aspirants have applied for the exam. In the prelims exam, only 5 to 6 lakh people have appeared for. That means almost 50% aspirants is gone from the competition here itself. Next is 10 to 15k candidates only went for the mains exam. That's it. And finally, interview stage, only 2.5 to 3k. That is, now okay, this number depends on what? This number depends on the number of vacancies that that were announced for that particular cycle. If suppose the number of vacancy is 1000, then number of candidates who will be moving to the personality test is almost 2 to 2.5 times of the number of vacancies. So over here, the number of candidate that appears for the mains exam was 10 to 15k. But the number of candidates who appeared for the interview was 2.5 to 3K. And finally, how many students got selected? Now, finally, only 800 to 1100 students got selected. Sounds scary, right? Now you look at it differently. Now we'll go one step forward, okay? Initially, how many students applied for the exam? Initially, 10 to 13 lakh aspirants have applied. But how many students appeared for the prelims exam? Only 5 to 6 lakh. That means 50% got reduced. That means these are your real competition, 5 to 6 lakh. But out of this 5 to 6 lakh also, how many appeared for the mains? Only 10 to 15,000. That means this is your real competition who are appearing for the mains. Now you see, initially you were thinking that, oh my goodness, 10 to 13 lakh aspirants. But no, the real competition lies with only 10 to 15,000 aspirants. Why so? Because many applicants are not serious. From here only you can get an idea that 50% of the students did not appear for the prelims exam only. Now many are underprepared, because of which they could not qualify the prelims exam. Many lack consistency. That is why they could not qualify the prelims exam. So you are not competing against 13 lakh people. You are competing against this 10 lakh real and serious and disciplined aspirants. So this number is much smaller as compared to 10 to 13 lakh. I hope you get that particular feeling that what is the competition, or how much effort you need to put in for this particular exam. So now we have understood all these things. But one thing I have mentioned that in the initially only, that prelims exam is nothing but a screening test. Now what do we mean by screening test? As we already discussed that prelims exam, you need to score a particular cutoff, above which if you score, you are, and the GS, if you scored that 66 marks or 33% of the total marks, if you can score, you are qualified for mains exam. So what is the cutoff for prelims? Now over the past years, it has been observed that the cutoff is slowly getting decreased or reduced as compared to the previous years. Exception is 2024 paper. As of now, the 2023 paper was having the lowest cutoff, but based on what they have decided the cutoffs. The first thing we must understand that there is no fixed passing percentage. As I mentioned, the cutoff is dynamic in nature. It changes every year. So based on what it depends? It depends on the difficulty level of that particular year's paper. Say for example, 2023 paper was the toughest paper as of now, before 2026 exam. So that is why the cutoff for 2023 was the lowest in UPSC's history, CSE's history. But everyone is saying, but 2026 paper was more tougher than 2023 paper. So everyone is saying that maybe the cutoff will go less as compared to 2023 as well. So it entirely depends on the difficulty level of the paper for that year and the overall performance of the candidates that year. Obviously, if the paper is tough, the performance of the candidate will not be as good as compared to if the paper was moderate or slightly moderate. So that is why the cutoff will vary depending on the paper that has been conducted in that particular year. So that is why it has been said that UPSC is a relative competition. What is UPSC? Now UPSC is a relative competition. You are not competing against a fixed benchmark, because you yourself don't know what is the fixed benchmark. You don't know until and unless you give the paper. You are not aware that what will be the paper, how tough will be the paper, or so what will be the performance of the other candidates. So that's why you are not competing against a fixed benchmark. You are competing against other aspirants who are appearing in the same examination in that same day. That's it. So instead of constantly worrying about the expected cutoff, focus on maximizing your score. Your target should never be the cutoffs. Your target should always be comfortably above it. That's it. If the cutoff is 90, say for example, while you starting your preparation, or while you are in your preparation journey before the exam, don't think that you need to score 90 only. No, you need to score at least plus 20. So that is how you will comfortably clear the cutoff. So now you have understood the cutoff of the prelims. Now let's quickly understand that what each mains paper is actually about. So as I mentioned previously that we are having multiple mains paper. So what exactly this mains paper is all about? What each paper is all about? The essay first is the essay paper. So what is this essay paper? Now essay paper requires candidates to what? Now to write two comprehensive essays on topics that may be philosophical, social, economic, political, or related to contemporary issues. So anything can be there. Next comes the GS1 paper. Now GS1 covers history and culture, geography, and Indian society. GS2. Now what are all these papers and all that we will discuss in the upcoming sessions. But since today is the first session of the series, I just want you to feel it. That's it and nothing else. So GS2 focuses on what? Now GS2 focuses on the constitution, the functioning of the state, that is the governance, the social justice and international relations. Like how the country is governed and how India interacts with the rest of the world. These are all covered in our GS2 paper. Next comes GS3. Now GS3 covers what? Now economy, science and technology, environment, agriculture, internal security and disaster management. Like India's development and security, all those details. Next comes the GS4 paper. Now GS4, that is the ethics paper, is very different from others. Now over here, instead of testing factual knowledge, it focuses on what? Now human values. It focuses on what? Now ethics, integrity, aptitude, emotional intelligence, and ethical decision making through case studies. This is the only paper where UPSC wants to understand not only whether you can solve a problem, but whether you can solve it in an ethical and responsible manner. So this is all about this particular GS4 paper. And next we are having the optional paper. So we will be having in any optional subject you can choose, and you need to give two papers each of having 250 marks each. So you can choose any subject which are being listed or which are being provided by UPSC. It consists of two papers carrying 500 marks in total. And the most important thing is that because of this high weightage, your optional will play a very important role, a very crucial role in determining your final rank. Why I am saying this? See, because all these papers like GS1, GS2, GS3, these papers are almost static in nature. That means everyone, if you have cleared prelims, that means you are aware of history. You are aware of fundamental rights, which comes under polity section. You are aware of Indian economy, monetary policy and all. That means more or less you will be getting same marks. Everyone will get almost marks similar to each other. Where can be the difference, or what will be the difference maker? First paper is essay. Now essay paper, it's a subjective paper. That means every person's essay will be different from one another. This is where you can score or you can outscore the others. Next is the ethics paper. As I mentioned that this is the only paper where UPSC wants to understand whether you can solve a problem or not, that's the secondary thing. But whether you are solving it in an ethical and responsible manner or not, that's it. So this will vary from person to person, from aspirant to aspirant. Finally, your optional paper. Some person's optional might be PSIR, some person's optional might be anthropology, some person's optional might be sociology. So this is where you can differentiate. So these three are the difference maker: essay, ethics and optional. If you can score well and how much marks it carries. Essay paper will carry 250 marks, GS4 paper will carry 250 marks, optional will carry 500 marks. That means these three papers carries 1000 marks. If you can score well in this 1000 marks, you are done with it. That's it. You have already outscored many aspirants. So this was all about the mains paper. So now, as of now, we have understood that what is prelims, what are the different stages of exams we have, what is prelims, what is mains, what is personality test. Now let's bust some common myths. Now what are those myths? You will be hearing these things occasionally, every time. First of all is that only toppers clears UPSC. That means if a person's background is from IIT, say for example he is a gold medalist or she is a gold medalist from IIT, that means only those persons can be a topper. But if a person who is coming from a humble background and who is coming from a tier 3 college, that person will not be able to clear UPSC. That is absolutely wrong. We have seen many toppers who are coming from humble backgrounds, who are coming from tier 3 colleges and clearing UPSC with flying colors. So many average students clear UPSC every year. Second myth is that you need to study for 15 to 16 hours on a daily basis. Now, this is absolutely false. Now, no person can study for 15 to 16 hours on a daily basis throughout the year. As I already mentioned, that UPSC is our annual exam. That means it takes entire year to complete the cycle. Now, that is not humanly possible to study for 15 to 16 hours on a daily basis throughout the year. The most important thing is that quality is more important than the quantity. Quality matters more than quantity. Now, the next myth is that you need to read hundreds of books. That is absolutely false. Why? Because reading multiple books will not help you to qualify the exam. But limited sources, multiple revisions, that is the key. So, the important or the key to clear this exam is limited sources and revising them multiple times. That is the key to clear this particular exam. And myth 4, that English medium students has an advantage. But that is also false, because we have seen that multiple students or multiple aspirants from Hindi medium has come out with flying colors, because UPSC rewards quality, content and not the language. So what matters is your content, your clarity and structure matter, not the medium of instructions. That's it. So these are few of the myths that you might have heard about, or you will be hearing it when you are in the preparation journey. So as of now, we have understood our overall picture of about this UPSC Civil Service Examination. Now, everything has a challenges to it. So what are the challenges? What are the challenges in this UPSC journey? The first challenge is, so before we conclude today's session, there is this important aspect that every aspirant must understand. UPSC is not just an examination of knowledge. It is also an examination of patience, discipline, resilience, and mental strength. Now, let us briefly discuss some of the common challenges that aspirants face during their UPSC journey. The first challenge is consistency. Now, many students begin their preparation with tremendous enthusiasm and motivation. After going through the toppers videos, all those movies and all those things, they might start with tremendous enthusiasm and motivation. However, maintaining the same level of discipline and focus for 1 to 2 year cycle is exceptionally difficult. It is not that easy. The real challenge is not studying hard for 1 week or 1 month. The real challenge is showing up every day and doing the required work consistently. So that is the most important thing. The next challenge is burnout. Now, as we have already discussed, that the syllabus is vast, the competition is intense, the pressure to perform and the sheer volume of the study material can lead to physical and mental exhaustion. So that is why taking proper breaks and maintaining a balanced routine is equally important. Say, for example, during festival time, often aspirants don't celebrate. No, you should, because you need to have some break. Then only you can perform with more energy. The third challenge is information overload. Now, in today's current world, there is no shortage of resources. We have multiple books, we have multiple coaching notes, websites, YouTube channels, current affairs magazines, Telegram groups. The list is endless. Now, many aspirants spend more time collecting resources than actually studying them. Just remember one thing, that success in UPSC is not about studying everything. It is about studying the right things repeatedly. The fourth challenge is social isolation, now which is very important, because everyone talks about the physical well-being of a person, but very few talks about the mental health of the person as well. This exam will help us to tackle. That means it's a real challenge to avoid these kind of things. So the preparation requires sacrifice outings, celebrations and many social activities. You might be thinking that your friend, your college mate is earning in lakhs in or studying abroad, earning in lakhs. But what you are doing, you are sitting in a room, isolated, you are studying and studying. This often comes to your mind, and this is the reality. We cannot deny this fact. As I mentioned that your friends might be pursuing jobs or higher studies or enjoying different phases of life. Maybe going for a trip, enjoying with their family, but many of us will not be able to do so during our preparation journey. So we may often find ourselves sitting alone with books and notes. At times this can feel lonely, and this is the real fact for it. But remember one thing, that every meaningful goal demands some level of sacrifice. So that is why, even if you are thinking about this social isolation and all, but remember this word, that why you have started for it. That's it. Why you have started this journey. No one has asked you to do so. You yourself had started. So think about it and then proceed further. Final challenge is failure management. As we have already discussed that the selection ratio is hardly 0.1 percentage. 10 to 15 lakh aspirants, 15 lakh aspirants are applying for the exam, but only thousands are getting selected. So this is the reality, that UPSC has a very high rejection rate. Many capable and hardworking candidates face setbacks at the prelims stage, mains stage, or even after the interview. Therefore, learning how to handle the failure, learning from mistakes and bounce back stronger is one of the most important skills an aspirant can develop. Now, just one thing, that a setback is not the end of the journey. It is a simple feedback that helps us prepare better for the next attempt. Just one thing I want to say, that UPSC I think it is one of the only exam conducted in India which teaches you not only knowledge, but it helps you to become a better human being. That's it. So if you can remain, so these are few of the challenges. There will be multiple challenges, but these are few of the challenges that every aspirant will face during this particular journey. But if you can remain consistent during these difficult times, avoiding burnout, stay focused amidst information overload, manage loneliness, and learn from failures, you will already be ahead of a large number of aspirants in this examination. So what are the key takeaways from today's session? First takeaway is that UPSC is not a sprint, it is a marathon. There will be challenges, burnout, self-doubt, failures, and information overload. But remember one thing, success in UPSC does not belong to the most intelligent person. Success usually belongs to the person who remains disciplined for the longest period of time. If you ever feel overwhelmed during your preparation, remember that almost every successful candidate has faced these challenges at some point or the other. These difficulties are not signs that you are doing something wrong. They are simply a part of the UPSC journey. So enjoy the process and go fully into this preparation. What is the second takeaway from today's session is that syllabus and PYQs should guide our preparation. We will discuss this in detail in the upcoming sessions. Consistency matters more than intensity. You can be energized, you can be enthusiastic, you can be motivated for few days, but the regular habits only will help you to clear this exam. Revision is more important than collecting resources. And finally, as we have discussed, that success depends on disciplined execution over time. So that's all for today's session. Keep learning, keep improving, and keep moving one step closer to your goal every single day. Stay disciplined, stay consistent, and remember, dreams do not work unless you work for them. Thank you, and I will see you in the next session.